Hello, my name is Donovan Lacey with the Anderson Fire Protection District. I'd like to thank everyone for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I'd like to thank the board members. I'd also like to thank the community for being here and getting involved. One of the things that I would like to go over with you is the river as it flows through our community. This river is an amazing and most beautiful river that flows through our community. It brings recreation and commerce to us. But one of the things that most people do not recognize is the fact that there are some hidden dangers within that river. One of those is its temperature, and also another thing is the power. Although as it flows through our community, it looks serene, beautiful, and very safe. However, that river is extremely deep. It has a lot of underwater obstacles, and the power of that river makes it such that if you happen to be floating down the river, and if you are in trouble, if you get caught by one of those underwater obstacles, that river is so strong it will pin you on that obstacle and slowly pull you down. And then, secondly, the temperature of the river. It is typically around between 52 and 55 degrees in the middle of summer when it's 110 degrees out. That river is extremely cold, which puts a person, if they get in trouble, in a position of being trapped and then becoming hypothermic. And unfortunately, if there's nobody there to rescue them or assist them off the obstacle, a lot of times that is something that turns out to be disastrous. So one of the things I'd like to do is present to you is the fact that we'd like to mitigate that problem as best we can. We'd like to reduce the dangers of being on the river. So looking back in years past when our community was a thriving lumber community, one of the things that we had was a lot more financing or money available to run a river rescue boat. So having that river rescue boat made it to where that we had a response, a pretty quick response. These days, with financial cutbacks, with the advent of Proposition 13, with the mills closing down, there's not a whole lot of money to go around to support these types of programs. However, as time has gone on, basically we look at the river, we look at what it is doing, we look at our communities trying to come back from where they have been. There are other options available for us, and some of those are actually cheaper options. Our goal as we try and make our community a thriving community, we try and ensure that we have tourism, we have social events that happen down at the river, and we want to keep people coming. In the picture you'll see one of the things, we have a stage right on the river for our Mosquito Serenade, kind of a fun event. The other thing is, as you see in this picture, is you see families who are traveling through and they like to get their feet wet. Sadly, one of the things that they don't know is that there is no lifeguard on duty. There's nobody there to rescue them if they get in trouble. What we have found as rescuers, what we are trained to these days, and it's pretty much across the board industry standard here in the North State, is shore-based rescue, meaning that we have 60-foot throw ropes, and if you're within 60 feet and you can actually, if you have not become hypothermic and you can actually grab onto the rope, we might be able to swing you in to the shore. But as you can see with the river in the picture, a lot of times that river in some places is 300 feet wide, meaning that there's no way we can get to you, and a lot of times we have to stand by and there's nothing we can do, because also we currently are not trained to go in the water, meaning that we are not trained to the river rescue technician level. So one of the things that I'd like to do is, as time has gone on, as I've said, there are options available to us. And some of those are, when you look at what we used to do, as you see in this picture, we had a river rescue boat. Those boats are actually quite expensive. When I worked for the city of Reading many years ago, basically the last boat that we purchased there was $80,000. Okay, so when you look at the cost and training all the personnel to a certain level, it can be quite expensive. However, these days there are cheaper options that may be actually a little more effective than those types of boats. Also, in our community, our goal is to get our members trained up to the river rescue technician level. We do have instructors here in the area who are willing to help us out and train us by donating their time while they're doing it. So given that, my hope is to ultimately work on getting a couple of these, they're called rescue watercrafts. They're basically a two-person watercraft set up and designed for rescuing people in water. And so looking at where we want to go with all of this, I want to start off with a 3-step plan. One, I'd like to I am actually currently working with a lot of the service clubs here in Anderson, as well as some of the benevolent foundations. We're also working with the Shasta County Sheriff's Department and local and adjoining fire agencies. One of the things that we're looking at is having basically it's a rental program, but for free, for personal flotation devices. So that way we are out there, or if people know they're gonna head to the river, they can stop by the fire station, or maybe I've been working with the city of Anderson, maybe there's places where we can have these personal flotation devices available. And the important thing is they're free to the community, so those who cannot afford them but are headed to the river anyway. If you think about the psychology as far as why sometimes we don't get some of those things that we do need, maybe they forgot it at home, maybe they just didn't have it all together and couldn't afford to go buy one. So we will have those things available. In my mind, in the first year, if we start with that benchmark of getting basically personal flotation devices out there to where they are free to use, and that way if they don't come back, that's okay. It may have saved a life that we don't even know about. So I would like to start with that. Secondly, on high flow days, or actually high river use days, what I would like to do is I would like to put a couple lifeguards on duty. They will be trained to the river rescue technician level, and they will have basically rescue boards so they can get out into the river. If somebody is having a difficult time, they can hopefully get out there and make the rescue. The last one that we responded to, and ultimately sadly turned out to be a fatality, was one that the gentleman saw somebody was having difficulties on the other end of the river, or actually the far side of the river. He decided to swim across. He got about halfway. He got overcome with hypothermia, ended up going out under, and that was the last anybody seen him, forgive me. That was the last time they seen him until he was recovered the next day out of the river. So we would like to make sure that those kind of things don't happen anymore. So then the next step would be to get purchase or receive donations, working with the different clubs and benevolent foundations, but look at getting and purchasing the 2 rescue watercrafts for the Anderson Fire Protection District. And basically on those days when there is high use on the river or special events on the river, basically we can have lifeguards who are out there trained to the river rescue technician level, and they can patrol the river. That would greatly assist in having a response on the river, so that way if somebody does get in trouble, we have somebody there to respond and hopefully make a difference. Sadly, right now, the way it currently is, the Sheriff's Department is the jurisdiction having authority on the river, and they do the best they can with what they have. But the reality is they have one boat that covers a huge area, and it is a volunteer program. So with that, a lot of times the boat is parked at the person who is on call, and it's parked at their house. So the river rescue response is pretty slow. And while we respond there with our personal flotation devices, our helmets, and our throw ropes, a lot of times it proves very frustrating. I think we can make a difference in our community to make it safer. We want to keep people coming, and we want our river to be safe. I don't think that we should go for a tax in doing this, because many people in the community don't use the river, or if they do, it's very limited. And the reality is sadly 1 to 2 deaths is too many, but still it's almost become a norm on the river during those events or those days on Labor Day and Memorial Day. So reality is I would like to put together a program where we work collaboratively with benevolent foundations, service clubs, adjoining agencies like Red Bluff and City of Reading who have the same problem. That way we can also train together and pool our resources. When somebody's having a difficult time or can't cover, maybe the one can help the other out. So in the long run, I think it will be a great thing for our community. It will make it safer, so that way as we invite people to our beautiful North State, this is a safe place to come and do recreation, work, and raise your families. So that being said, my goal is, if we can accomplish this, is within the first year, I would like to get the personal flotation devices out there. The second year, I would like to have lifeguards on duty. The third year, I would like to have basically rescue watercrafts out patrolling the river. If we can accomplish that, I think it will go a long way in making our river a lot safer as it flows through the community. Having said that, if we're able to come up with funds sooner than the 3-year mark, we will implement sooner. But I think if we have a plan in place, we have benchmarks set, I think it is proven that we can actually make a difference in our community, and at actually a much lower cost than it was in years past. I would like to thank you for your time. Have a nice evening and be safe.